Hello, welcome to this Saturday afternoon. Yeah, I made a anime picture with AI of myself and the Nature Girl 30. No, I am not actually bald, but for some reason the AI decided to make me bald. And I thought I was done with this subject, but it's the gift that keeps on giving, and I figured, why not? We just got finished watching a couple videos on this guy, Dr. Umar, the Prince GMO reference. That's how he likes saying it. On Mr. Umar Johnson, or supposed victim of white supremacy, supposed victim of Wilmington, Delaware, that wants to take his buildings and take away our school. Oh, wait a minute. I thought it was your school. I thought you were the principal. I thought you were the owner. But now all of a sudden, because you wouldn't pay your bills or your taxes, now all of a sudden it's we. This guy, between those last couple videos, not to mention several other videos that are now starting to resurface, reminded me why I got off the bandwagon with this guy a long time ago. Black Queens Forever, Snow Bunnies Never. I'm like, yeah, I'll admit, 10 years ago, I would have been all behind that. But you know what? Even when I said it back then, when I was trying to be pro-black, something in my heart just never felt right. Now, do I tend to look at black women first? Yes. But in my heart, I was willing to go with who loved me. But you know what? You know what happened? I stopped looking for a good black woman. And I just happened to find a good woman who happens to be black. Because I'll tell you, if Regina wasn't in my life, I would be one of two things right now. I would either be single, or I'd probably be interracial. I'm not even gonna front. Because honestly, when I think about it, even going back to my teenage years, they paid me more attention and, to be honest, more love than black women did. But we're not talking about that. See, I would be, by the reason I'm bringing that up, I would be in total opposite of Mr. Umar Johnson, who I think is a fake phony anyway. He probably got a couple of snow bunnies on the side. We just don't know about them yet. But yeah, you know what? What do you think of all this stuff we saw off of Lovely T's video? We watched two videos because she just dropped another one this afternoon. A little after 12 noon. And what do you think of all this? I mean,
to be honest with you, I had to laugh at Lovely T because she was like outraged that he would kind of be like, you know, what with Leo season, with her being a Leo, and she just went off. I mean, she's not wrong about how some Leos are. I have dated a few, but and the fact that she kind of threw Virgos under the bus, I had to laugh a little bit about that. I know a few Virgos, and I'm a good friend of one, but that's kind of messed up throwing them under the bus. But anyway, when it comes to Dr. Umar Johnson, I said Dr. Umar Johnson. I said again, Dr. Umar Johnson. This guy has been a fraud for many, many years. He had no intention on creating a school because he had the opportunity. And I remember this, I think this was either last year or the year before last, that he actually had a lot of black men that wanted to invest in his new school. And he actually had a guy that knew about business, as well as him having really successful business seminars, not just for black people, but for men in general that wanted to build their wealth. He wanted to invest his time as well as his money into the school. But for some reason, Dr. Umar kept snubbing him. Now, it shows right then and there that Dr. Umar had no intention on building a school, but he wanted to seem like he was the type of guy that was, you know, very generous towards the black community, but he was just using them. And we actually saw the video of him, I don't know, saying happy Black August. And before I go into the school and how it looks, why did you give us the hottest, most humid, most horrible month in the year? For those that live in the Carolinas, for those that live in Florida, for those that live in Georgia, and even up here in West Virginia, and even in Virginia, y'all know that nobody is outside in August because it is too freaking hot. So why are you giving us the hottest month? The worst month of the year because of how hot it is. Why are you doing that?
And another thing before you go on how that school looked. A couple of old videos surfaced. One of them was talking about, come on, black people, give me your grit money. Give me your weed money. Give me your 40 money. Yeah, perm money. Give me your Jordan money. Give me your Alizé money. Give me your 40 money. Okay, first off, and this is coming from me at Dr. Umar. I rarely eat grits. I'm an oatmeal man. I'm a cold cereal man. I rarely eat grits. So screw you on that one. Jordans, I haven't bought an expensive pair of tennis shoes in years. In fact, the only high-end ones I got in my closet are a pair of red and white with black sole Pumas that Regina gave me for my birthday a couple of years ago. As far as I rarely drink alcohol of any kind. And nobody, even the hardcore alcoholics around, at least around here, nobody drinks a 40-ounce hardly anymore.
Yeah, they still sell them.
Yeah, they still sell them, but hardly nobody. I don't even see nobody out there. They be having like the little 12 to 24 ounce cans, but that's about it. You don't see nobody with no 40 anymore, man. You behind the times.
The 6-packs, 8-packs, and 12-packs. They don't got no 40s no more, bruh. Where you at?
Yeah. You about 20 years behind, dude. And as far as perms, speaking for my lady, I've never seen her put in no perm or nothing. At least not while I've been with her. Maybe years ago. But
I'm natural. Like, he's right. I'm natural because I have to be. I have a scalp condition that it can't handle perms. It can't handle relaxers. It can't even handle neutralizers. I went natural because my dermatologist was like, if you want your hair, you better go natural. And that's what I did. But despite all that, not everybody, I said not everybody gets perms. And that's insulting to every black person. There are some people like me that are natural and have been natural for many, many years. I've been natural for decades. So you're coming saying, give me your weave money, give me your perm money. Now weaves, we know black women wear weaves. Like, we can't deny that. We can't get over that. They wear weaves and wigs. Not many have perms though. But either or, man, come on. You trying to uplift the black community, or you trying to throw a bunch of stereotypes at them, even though some of them are true. But either or. Come on, man. That's insulting.
Yeah, and as for that building, quite frankly, there's a woman, speaking of your hair and everything. Well, actually, I go to her for the hair, too. There's a woman with a business called Cultured Awaken in South Bluefield, West Virginia, if you're ever through here, named Leona Graves. She sells this beautiful hair grease that I swear has pretty much changed my life on how I take care of my hair. And at one point, I had a spot in the back of my head where I slept on it a lot. It was actually balding in that spot. Barbers used to have to just cut around it, but then after it would grow a certain length, you could clearly see it. I used Leona's hair grease. At one time after that, I noticed the bald spot was gone. Hair was actually keeping up with the rest of my head, even if I slept on that spot. So yeah, and I put Regina onto it when she came to visit me when she was still living in Georgia.
Oh, he did. He did. And it's just to the point where I literally just, I talk highly of that grease so much that I would like advertise it in any way I possibly can.
Yeah, but seriously, Dr. Umar's building looks like something she could have had if she could have afforded it.
It's the same color as that building. Now, for those that want to look Leona up, and I am giving her a shout out because, to be honest with you, she does great business, has great products, especially African-based products, which is most of the grease is made out of African herbs and petrolatinum, which actually has made my hair grow inches every month. But either or, she's on Facebook under Culture Awaken. I'm trying not to stutter. But yeah, just look her up. She's on there if you want to check her out. But to be honest with you, Dr. Umar, that building that was behind him in that photograph, in that video, would look like the same color as her building. Like something out of a hair care store, a barber shop, or even a beauty shop. It don't look like no school. And especially if you're trying to get kids in it like thousands, you need a bigger building. So, I mean, I'm sorry. This guy was not ready to have a school.
No.
And he wasn't even trying to surround himself with people that knew how to do business.
No, talking about for the haters and the instigators and putting up his crusty middle finger. Crusty middle finger. Look like, man, dude, you be going around to these tours. You trying to tell me you couldn't have stopped at Butters and Black in Georgia? Or you couldn't have, heck, even here, could have stopped at Leona's shop and got you some good soap. Heck, we know a couple people with good that she does. We know this even white woman that's got some good soap. Oh, she makes it out of her house. Good natural soap. So, get you nice and clean. You be smelling decent.
Not only that, there's actually a store around here that has a business that sells body butter.
Mm-hmm.
You could have used that to make your hand look less crusty, but let's not be too petty on that. But I will say that, look, stop giving this man money. Stop giving him money. He's not going to change no matter how much you throw at him. And yeah, he's charismatic. I'm not going to lie. The man is. But the fact that he keeps asking you guys for money and not putting anything into it shows me he is using your money for his own lifestyle. It takes a long time to make a school and get it together. The building itself, yeah, that can take a few years. But getting the curriculum right, getting the food right, especially trying to make it a boarding school where you're going to house these kids, you got to make sure that the structure's up to code. You got to make sure that the food is actually healthy for them to whether they won't get sick or even become diabetics or change their whole body chemistry. You want to make sure that that's right. There's a lot that you got to do. And also you got to get the teachers. Mm-hmm. And when you have a boarding school, you got to get the top of the line teachers.
Yeah, and dude, some of your stipulations, like for example, one in particular, talking about they got to be straight. No gay people teaching in my school. I'm like,
that doesn't matter.
Dude, that don't matter. As long as he's not molested, he or she even. Let's not leave out the women.
Yeah.
Let's not leave out the women. As long as they are not molesting the kids, who cares?
Exactly.
What they do at home is their business. I mean, that ain't my cup of tea. The only man stuff that's gonna be in my bed is mine, but
oh god.
But as far as them being able to teach, if they're a great teacher and can teach the kids the lessons and they grasp the lessons and they retain the lessons, who cares what they do when they clock off? Who cares if they're gay?
Plus, it has to go with the curriculum of the school. If this school is supposed to be based on business, it's got to be based on business. If it's general, it got to be general, but it has to lead somewhere. Now, yeah, we've had these woke schools that pretty much put like a lot of their own different types of propaganda in there that has nothing to do with the subject. That's something I don't agree with. It has to have something to do with the subject, and it has to lead somewhere to where they can take it with them when they get older. Now, for these kids in boarding school, yeah, you have math, you have reading, writing, arithmetic, all that other stuff. But you also have to have something that can help them learn a trade. Something that they can actually build towards. And in this day and age, we have kids that are as young as 15, even 18, that are making money, that are actually becoming multimillionaires. But here's the thing. At a certain age, and I think it depends on the state, kids actually don't have access to their account until they're a certain age. But either or, if you're actually teaching them to learn a trade, teaching them how to help themselves and get bigger and become not bigger people, but actually benefit towards the community, I think that's great. But it's been several years, which shows you that this man is not going to do anything for the black community. He's just all talk and no go. You want somebody that actually does something and not just say it. And that's the problem with Dr. Umar. He just talks a good game, but he can never, ever, ever do anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, and as far as, and I know some people might be saying, well, Irvin, you're talking about, oh, he a doctor. He got 6 degrees. What do you know about it? I said, no, I'll admit, all I have is a Bachelor of Arts degree in broadcast journalism. That's all I got. I'll admit that. And no, I've never worked in higher education. But I've had 2 parents that did. One in particular I'm going to bring up is my own father. And he would never go around and say this stuff. I'll say this. The list of accomplishments, that man not only would dwarf everything Dr. Umar claims to have done, it would take me, I would need 2 hours to go into everything, because the list that guy's got takes up several pages. And but to shorten it, teacher at Southwest Virginia Community College, which is down here, past Richlands, Virginia, not Richmond, Virginia, Richlands, Virginia, totally different place. Vice President of Student Affairs at Patrick Henry Community College in Martinsville, Virginia. Vice President of Student Affairs at West Virginia State in Dunbar, West Virginia. President of West Virginia State and Technical College, also in Dunbar, West Virginia. And finished off his career as president of Halifax Community College in Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina. Retired in 2017. Now that's just the basic stuff that everybody knows. One time I took a list of everything he has done that he doesn't even talk about. And honestly, he didn't do it, and he didn't have to raise one dime. He didn't have to get on YouTube and beg for money. He didn't have to do none of that. I mean, I'll give him his due. He hadn't have to do any of that. Unlike Mr. Fat Walrus that claims to have six degrees, maybe in his refrigerator.
Oh, wow.
Who collected like $2 million, done spent it on 2 things: his stomach and his private parts. Yeah, I'm going there. He spent it on feeding himself, feeding his lifestyle, and basically not even getting it on the strength of his personality. He probably paid for it.
I thought you were going to say feeding his winged hang.
Yeah, basically paid for box. I mean, but tried to act like he demanded. And this is another thing to get on my nerves. I'll admit, in my past, it would have been more like hating. But now, as an older man, I just find it just disgusting. Why is it every time he sees a halfway decent woman, especially a black woman, he gotta talk to him? I have known guys like this. Ever since I was a teenager, I have known dudes like this. And I'm finding out even as an older man, older dudes who are even older than me be doing this. Heck, I witnessed a couple of times where I started to check some of these older dudes because they try to like low-key flirt with Regina. And these were dudes that I knew as a little kid. I mean, these are like dudes old enough to be our grandpa and stuff. And this wasn't no playful joking.
No, it wasn't. And to be honest with you, it was kind of off-putting. Because, I mean, at the time, he didn't really pay any attention to it because he knew these people. But for me, coming from Atlanta, I've been hit on by guys his age, and I know the difference, and it was just a bit unsettling, especially with him right there.
Yeah, and I didn't pick up on it at the time.
Nah, he didn't.
I didn't pick up on it at the time, but then the more I thought about it, I was like, oh.
Especially after I told him. That's when he started thinking about it. He was like, wait a minute. All right, wait a minute. It took him a minute to think about it. And then he was like, okay, yeah, he kind of was. But in this case with Dr. Umar, number one, going back to his dad, Dr. Griffin, he actually has a doctoral degree. While if he's a doctor of psychology, wouldn't he be able to still make enough money to have, I don't know, to live and not be so dependent on donations, which is kind of what it is. He's actually being dependent on donations.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have a second form of income. That is his primary income. He is using that to feed his own lifestyle, to feed his belly, to feed his penis, and to feed whatever else he's feeding. Probably the other thousands of other kids that he has that he will never admit
we only know about 2, but it's probably more than that.
And that's kind of what he's doing.
Yeah, and on that, let me say this. I'm no angel, okay? I've never been married. And yeah, have I had some premarital sex? Yes. And have I done what some people may call, oh, you living in sin? Yeah. But one thing I never did, I never made babies out of wedlock. I had enough sense to know what a condom was.
That he did. I've known this before we started dating. We actually were friends for like a long time before we ever started dating. So I knew this about him. And to be honest with you, he has a lot more class a lot more class in both his hands than Dr. Umar will ever have in his fingernail.
Yeah, and I don't claim to be a saint. And even if I did, I'm not going to call out women the way he does. He talk about, we need to respect our beautiful black sisters. But then he turns around and says some of the most disgusting stuff that even in my younger days, and I could be pretty dirty back in my younger days, but he said stuff that would have made me cringe even back then. And I'm like, oh, dude.
Some of the things that come out of that man's mouth.
I was like, dude, really? Like the time, and I didn't realize this, but this will be the 11th video I have made on this man. Literally the 11th. I didn't know I made that many videos on this guy. I could probably go back and make my own playlist on videos I have made of this man.
Honestly, you should.
Yeah, I really should. One of them was one where he was talking about, look at Serena Williams, married to that white man. He can't handle all that. He can't handle all that shock. I'm like, ew. First of all, she's a married woman. Second of all, even if she wanted to step out on her husband, I'm pretty sure Serena Williams would have more access to better quality, let's just say, piece of man than Dr. Umar Johnson. Third, she's probably never heard of you. The woman's been with Common and Drake, to name 2, for God's sakes. I mean, good grief. Why would she want you? Even if she wasn't married. Even if she wanted to cheat on her husband. She wouldn't cheat on her with you because you just like, well, I guess this is a stereotype. My apologies in advance to Regina. But you, sir, would be just like a woman and tell the whole street, tell the whole block. Now, that's one thing I never did. Even in my, let's just say, hit it and quit it days. And even then, I still treated the women like people that chose to get butt naked and intimate with me. Even then, I still treat them like women. I mean, even Regina, when we were friends, she was like, Irvin, you really need a wife or at least a girlfriend. which is ironic because we're seeing each other now. But she was like, you need a wife or a girlfriend. You're way too nice.
Yeah.
I mean, after you get finished with them, you be offering to watch them go or walk them to their car or even offering them to wash up in your shower and stuff. Oh, like, hey, and I explained it simply. I said, well, Regina, when I was young, I got hardly no female attention. Most of them either didn't pay no attention to me at all, or they just want to just clown me just to get a laugh or two with their friends. And the majority of them was black women. And I don't know, it just followed me for a long, long time. So when I actually got active when I was around 21, 22 years old, was my first time, let's say, having sex outside of a kiss or something. I was always just grateful. I know that's maybe weird for some of you guys to hear that, but I was just grateful.
I guess
that women were paying attention. So I made sure, even later on, when I chose to just stay single and just do occasional hookups, I always treat the women, first of all, I would actually have a conversation with them. Just a general conversation, not even bring up sex. Even though we both kind of knew we wanted to go there, I would just have a regular conversation with the female. And
I still couldn't understand that, though. I still couldn't understand it. And I guess for somebody who's been in my younger days, shoot, I'm 45 now. I got no shame. He knows about some of this stuff. I've had one night stands and stuff like that before in my 20s. I'm not going to deny that. But for me, I handle it differently. I just act like they didn't exist. I literally treated them like a piece of meat. I'm not going to lie. If they called me and said, where you at? I'm like, I'm at home. And that's why I had I had that mindset, like, why in the world are you going to be treating somebody that you know that you just want one thing out of as a girlfriend when they're not even there yet? Like, if you and her decided to actually date and have a relationship and build on that, I got you. But if you just there for some tail, why even be chivalrous? That was just my thinking then. I get it now because that's who he is. But at the time, with my way of thinking about men and how to treat them if you wanted one thing, I never thought how he would think. And yes, how I thought, I'm not gonna lie, was wrong. I mean, you have to treat everybody with respect. But at that time, I didn't think that way.
Yeah, I mean, but like I said, I'm gonna have a conversation with her because she might look real good, but she might be an asshole or something, man. And if she like that, any, shall we say, hard on I might have had for, that'll disappear real quick. I'll be like, nope, I ain't messing with this one.
Yeah.
But yeah. That's just how I got down. Now, and I was always a gentleman before, even kind of during the activities and after. That's just the way. Even if I knew we weren't going to be together,
yeah,
together, and this was just hooking up, I was still, nice to share. And some women even asked, like, "Why are you so nice to me?" I was like, because you didn't have to be here with me.
And that's how he always has been. You didn't have to be
here with me, but you are.
That's how he always has been.
The least I can do is, offer you to shower if you want to clean up here or walk you to your car. I mean, you didn't have to be here.
But I will say that for you, even in a place of hurt, you still remain truthful. You've always been chivalrous towards women, even when they hurt you. I'm not gonna lie. When I get hurt, my nice side gets shut off and the bitch switch turns on. Like, and I've become incredibly cold. That's how I was in my 20s. When you hurt me, I act like emotion is not even in existence. I just shut myself off. And that's why I treated men coldly.
Yeah.
But when you get older, like when I was in my 30s or heading towards 30, That's when my mindset started to change, but I allowed it to change. I allowed men to open the door for me. I allowed men to be themselves, even if they weren't good for me. If you walk away, you walk away. You just got to learn how to walk away. And that changes your mindset. It doesn't mean you're weak. It just means that sometimes you got to let go of stuff.
Yeah. But getting back to Dr. Umar, this is why the way he talks about women, I mean, black women specifically, but the way he talks about women, I mean, it's just the polar opposite of how I view things. It's the polar opposite of how I view things, and me and him would never be cool. We would be enemies from day one, practically. If I ever met him, we would pretty much be enemies, because that's not how I view. Or if she's that much of I'm just gonna go ahead and say, if she's that much of a bitch, I'm not even gonna mess with her. Her name is not, at least not in public, her name's not even gonna leave my mouth at that point. At that point, I just leave her alone.
I know he's trying to get a sympathy army. That's why he brought her up. He brought her up to try to get a sympathy army, to try to be like, oh, this woman is doing this to me. And seeing how his fan base is mostly black women, he's trying to get a army to go against her, so he can play the victim. That's kind of what he's trying to do. The sad thing is that it makes him look petty.
Yep.
It doesn't make him look like he's a victim. It looks petty. And not only that, there is a bunch of red flags in everything he said.
Mm-hmm.
And most of these people who are TikTokers debunked him.
And we would need another hour or so to go into everything, because he had so many contradictions.
Yes.
So many contradictions. But one of the big ones I definitely want to touch on was the whole thing about, they're taking our building down. If we were white, this would not be happening. If we were Asian, this wouldn't be happening. If we were Jewish, this wouldn't be happening. I'm like, will you please shut up?
Thank you.
Will you please shut up? Now, I'm not saying that there aren't prejudices in city governments against black people. I'm not saying that. Yes, it has happened. Yes, it has happened. But number one, you got to have a little thing called proof. Number one. And number two, if you really thought that, you wouldn't be on YouTube or wouldn't be on the internet begging and trying to get a sympathy army. You would be going straight to something called a lawyer.
If this was immediately. Exactly. If this was something that was definitely racial based, but it's not.
It's not. It's called you didn't pay your bills, fool.
But then also you got to remember there are far too many black people now, and we're not going to go too much into black fatigue, but I know you guys have heard of the term thrown around many, many times. It's to the point where the whole victim blaming has gone a little bit too far. Now it's just to the point where it's a part of the culture. And that's what he's harping on. That's what he's feeding on. That's what he's hoping that people are going to digest and be on his side. I really do think that most black people are starting to wake up. They're starting to wake up to this. This guy is taking advantage of the community, and he's throwing racism out there just to trigger folks to do something else, like give him more money.
And this is why, as a whole, I do get a little sick of all of us being lumped.
Yes.
In this. I do get sick of this. But this is why, as a whole, communities outside the black community, even other communities that would be considered black, like in Africa or like in Jamaica, just to name two, this is why they don't take the American black community seriously. This is why, as a whole, do they take some members of the American black community seriously? Yes. But as a whole, no. As a whole, no. Although I do get tired of getting lumped as a whole, because there's some of those people, who try to label all American black people this way, which is not fair, because not all of us are like that.
But he's harping on that, and he's not making it any better for the black community by doing this.
Not without proof. If he had proof, that would be different.
Exactly. But he's doing this for selfish reasons. We kind of know this now. The money that everybody has given. And the one thing that I am I gotta tip my hat off to some of these people donating. And as of right now, I have not heard anybody trying to sue this man or clap back for the money that they got. Now, if you know that you are donating to a cause and you choose to give that money away, that money is no longer yours. And I'm glad that understanding is there. But if you know that your investments is not being used properly, you do not have to give them any
No, if you do have something like a regular donation thing to him, cut it off now.
Exactly.
Cut it off now. I'm sure there's a way to cancel it.
If you have an auto draft with this man, which I pray that you don't, cut it off. If and some of these I guess some of these services, they do have the ability to draft to a particular company. I hope it's not to this man. He does not need any more of your money. It is not going to go to where it needs to go to. And people keep saying, oh, get a job. You need to get a job. I'm going to be honest with you. If this guy is a psychiatrist or a psychologist, he's probably not going to be able to work in that field. He better find something else to do. Something else that can make him money. And for him getting like a regular old 9-to-5, like working at Pizza Hut or something, that might be a bad idea. And first, he might just eat some of the pizzas. So that would probably be a bad idea.
And second, every pretty woman that walk in, especially if they're a single mom with kids, especially if they're a single mother, they're gonna. He's probably gonna be trying to hit on him instead of doing his job, which is another thing that gets on my last nerve. Yeah, in my younger years, I won't lie, because women weren't giving me the time of day. It used to be hating on my part, but as I've gotten older, I found that wasn't the only reason I hated it. I hated it because there was just something, I don't know. I mean, I realized they said, well, you got to go out and get it. Because I used to be told that, saying, well, you don't get women because you don't go out and get it. And to a degree, that's true. But I found, for me, that didn't work. It worked because I was myself. I began to get women as I got to my adulthood, because I was myself. I was myself. I presented myself. And some women, and I had to learn. Some women are not going to like that, but there's some that will. And it just so happens, I had too much of the pro-black mindset at the time. Just so happens, most of the women that did like what I was bringing to the table, just happened to be non-black. And they were very smart. Most of them were white, but some of them were of other races. They like what I was bringing to the table. Like, I always got more attention from women who weren't black. I mean, here and there I would get attention, but it was usually from a black woman that usually wasted a lot of years or wasted a lot of time with guys that weren't really serious, that were just trying to, or were playing games. They were like 20, 30 years old, still acting like they were in high school. At least when it came to women, they weren't serious. They were just playing games with them and stuff. But then wanted me to come around me and wanted me to clean up mess. But the thing was, their minds weren't right and their spirits weren't right. And most of them I had to let go. Now, there was one in particular that, I ain't gonna lie, I had to let her go just for my own safety. Because I'll put it this way, when she wasn't on drugs or anything, or messing around the street, when she was straight, she was all right. But sometimes she would be into some stuff that, granted, I'll give her this, she tried to keep me away from that stuff. That's why she was kind of secretive about everything that was going on. But I was like, nah, I can't deal too much with this woman. Even though my heart really was into her, I had to let her go, which ended up being the best thing for both of us. It ended up being the best thing for her too, because she did meet the man that she was supposed to be with. She got out of here, and now from last time I looked, she was having a beautiful life elsewhere. So I can't say how things worked out. No, it wasn't me, but I hope at least I influenced her to find a better man than what she was messing with. So there was that. that. But yeah, I didn't have too much black luck with black women. But then I said, you know what? Don't focus on getting a good, like I said at the beginning of this video, don't focus on getting a good black woman. Just focus on getting a good woman. And eventually that did happen. It just so happens Regina is black. but but a guy like Dr. Umar don't look at it in that way. He's more worried about satisfying his lust. I mean, that's cool. I can't totally judge him for that. But good grief, if you're supposed to be being a doctor representing the best of the black community, you shouldn't be acting like a street thug. Heck, a street thug. There's some street thugs and some gangsters that act with more class than this dude.
Mm-hmm. That is true. But I just hope and even pray that we actually do come together as a community, which means we have one voice. And when it comes to communities, the communities does what's best for the community, not just what's best for one individual. We got to understand, we got to hold these people accountable, even if they are black. If they're taking advantage of other black people, especially black women, either single moms or older black women, we got to hold them accountable. We can't just keep giving them money, hoping for the best and hoping they're going to change if I give them $1 more. It's not going to be the case with him. This guy is a narcissist. Not only that, he's to the point where he thinks himself close to being a god.
Mm-hmm.
That's a god complex, y'all. Don't feed that. Narcissism gets worse when you feed it. The same thing with god complex. When you feed it, it gets worse.
Yeah, when he was like that, I was like, okay, dude, I haven't been to church in I don't know how long. I'm not but even I know when you start comparing yourself to God or start comparing yourself to Jesus Christ, that's when even I gotta go, whoa.
But I'm gonna go into the Bible a little bit, but it's not gonna be a sermon, just an example. For those that have read Daniel or have heard of Daniel, y'all heard of King Nebuchadnezzar. And Nebuchadnezzar got to that point to where he thought himself as a god. Hell, he made an idol of himself and forced his people to worship it. And if they didn't worship it, they were dead. He would literally execute them. But we all know what happened to Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar ended up going insane. And he ended up grazing in the fields with the rest of the flock, eating grass. This man was driven mad. But remember this man was also appointed by God to be the first emperor in the Bible. And he was the emperor, he was the king of Babylon, but he was pretty much the first emperor in the Bible. But we all know what happened to Nebuchadnezzar. So it seems to me that Dr. Umar is going to probably go in that same direction. I don't want that to happen to him, but he is pushing himself in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, shoot. Yeah, talking about you close to God. Oh, I'm the King Kong of this conscious game. And I'm like, what? I mean, really? And name your school after two black figures that are the total polar opposites of each other in Frederick Douglass, who was an abolitionist who was pushing for slaves to be free, who was taught to read by a white woman. As a matter of fact, he ended up marrying that very white woman, so he was also not afraid of interracial.
Yep.
Then you have Marcus Garvey, who did have some good points, but he was pretty much considered a madman, even among a lot of black folks. He was pretty much considered a madman. In fact, they made a movie based on him, I believe, called The Last King of Scotland, starring Forrest Whitaker. And I think it also starred James McAvoy and Kerry Washington as well. McAvoy, you might remember playing young Charles Xavier in the X-Men movies.
Yeah, and knowing that he named his school after two individuals that are the polar opposite of each other, and also calling himself, was it the King Kong? The King Kong of Pan Africanism? Isn't that kind of insulting himself? Because it's like calling himself man-ape.
Yeah.
I mean,
except M'Baku actually had more honor in class, number one.
M'Baku was also incredibly strong and very intelligent.
Yeah.
We can pretty much say that Dr. Umar is very charismatic, and he knows how to manipulate people.
Yeah.
But intelligence.
Yeah, and no honor. Like I said, M'Baku, the man-ape, actually had more honor than Dr. Umar.
Yeah. He actually had a lot more honor, even though the way that M'Baku thought was different from what T'Challa thought. It was way different than what he would think. But honestly, he still had the honor of a king. Yes,
he had the honor of a king, and even at the end of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, he actually took over the throne for a minute while Shuri was away. Because Shuri, by rights, was the queen of Wakanda. But he took the throne over for a minute.
But also think of it this way. When it comes to Wakanda, and going off tangent for a tad, Wakanda literally had to fight on who the king was going to be. And if you win, you end up getting it. Who is going to fight a woman?
That's true.
Honestly, she probably gave the throne to him. But other than that, when it comes to Dr. Umar, I'm sorry. The reason why I say that intelligence is meh, because if you were intelligent, you would be smart enough to surround yourself with people that actually knew what they were doing. And I want to give a wrestling example. Vince McMahon. Yeah, his name is Mud right now because of the whole lawsuit. But to be honest with you, he was smart enough to surround himself with people that actually knew the business better than him.
Yes.
Because let's be honest, he's not the one that created the name for WrestleMania. It wasn't him that did it.
The late Howard Finkel did.
Yep.
Yeah, the ring announcer.
And he wasn't the one that came up with the name for the Royal Rumble either.
It was, and this guy's name is in Mud itself.
But he's actually in Mud right now.
Yeah, he's 6 feet under. Guy's name is Pat Patterson, the first ever Intercontinental Champion.
Even though that whole thing about the IC belt was a fraud from the beginning.
Yeah, well, him winning it in Rio de Janeiro was, but him being the champion was not.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, but yeah, he came up with a lot of stuff that Vince gets credit for, but he actually came up with. I mean, the guy might have been a sicko. Well, ain't no might have. He was.
Yeah.
He was a sicko outside the ring, but as far as wrestling, he was the genius behind Vince in some ways, creatively, because the Royal Rumble name, Vince did not come up with that. He did.
Yeah. Like, he was smart enough to surround himself with people that knew the business to make his business better. He had ambitions to make it bigger and larger than life, yes, but he surrounded himself with people that knew the business better than him. Because let's be honest, he wasn't indoctrinated into this by his dad. He had to buy it from his dad. His dad didn't necessarily trust him. So he had to find a way to make it work. And that's what he did. That's intelligence. That right there is intelligence in itself. Surrounding yourself with people that know the business in order for your business to grow.
Yeah, not to mention another one, which was a guy that was instrumental in him getting TBS for a time, the infamous Black Saturday, James E. Barnett. No, not Cornette, Barnett. Jim Barnett was another one that was behind Vince that actually helped him both in the 80s and later on in the late 90s into the 2000s. In fact, he's one of the people allegedly that told Vince, hey, keep an eye on that one kid there. Named John Cena. Keep in mind, many say he's one of the ones that pushed for Vince to get behind Cena. Because originally, Vince, contrary to what he may say now, Vince was not originally behind Cena.
No,
not originally. Originally, he wanted Batista to be his top guy, or Randy Orton to be, which eventually they did become their top names.
True.
But he was not behind Cena being top name at first.
Remember, he was about to fire Cena if it wasn't for Stephanie.
Yeah, Stephanie also saved Cena's job when she saw him doing freestyle rapping on a bus. And this was like maybe a few weeks before he was supposed to get cut.
Because remember this, Stephanie is a hip-hop head, and Triple H is a metal head. I don't know how they make that work, but Stephanie McMahon, she is a fan of hip-hop. And the fact that you got John Cena, who has probably the best flows I've ever heard since Eminem.
Yes, he's I won't call John Cena a hip-hop artist, but his flow is very underrated.
His flow is on point. For anybody that heard his album when he was the Prince of Thugonomics, the Doctor of Thugonomics, the fact that when he was the Doctor of Thugonomics and came out with his first album, I've heard a few songs from there. It's good. That album actually is good. This shows that John Cena actually does got some flow, as well as his rap that he did for Stacker 2 before WWF became under fire because of what was in it. I think it was like Finn.
In fact, that's when he was his most popular.
Yeah.
When he was the Doctor of Thugonomics. That's when he was his most popular.
Y'all can probably find that commercial on YouTube about Stacker 2, because Trish Stratus actually did a commercial about Stacker 2, and that was a fat burner that became very controversial later on because of what was in it. I think it was either Redux or Fin or something like that. That was actually making people will die from overtaking it. And I think they took it off the market. But there's a big story on that. Y'all can look it up yourselves. But honestly, the only way that you can show intelligence is by knowing what your strengths are and knowing what your weaknesses are. But if you are too stubborn, too narcissistic, too prideful to show what your shortcomings are or what you need to know in order to make something successful, especially a big project as doing a school, because he's trying to make a school all by himself. Can't do that. That's when you fail. But we got to hold these people accountable. We can't just be throwing money at it or trying to cover it up with the screen. We got to admit to ourselves that we made a mistake and we just have to move back and keep it moving someplace else.
Yes. And we could go on and on about this guy, but I don't want to go on too long about him. And that's pretty much all we're going to say on Dr. Oh, one final thing before we go, though. This fool is now so caught up in saying that it's racism, it's why we're losing the buildings, why they're trying to put him up for auction behind the back. He's trying to rally people to come to Wilmington, Delaware to march. Like it's some big racial thing. I'll be like, I hope there's black people that are not that stupid. I really do. No. If we actually do see a march on Delaware, we have to make fun of that. I'm sorry. Yes. We gotta make fun of that because that shows how stupid people are. Yeah, because I'm like, this is why no one takes us seriously. Now, don't get me wrong. Trayvon Martin, hell yeah. George Floyd, hell yeah. Michael Brown, hell yeah. This crap, hell no. Hell no. Nah.
I will never march for Dr. Umar. No freaking way.
No, I mean this guy's reminding me of Jim Jones or something, man. A broke, busted Jim Jones. Oh, this guy, this dude. I mean, how is he any better than a Klan member? I mean, for real. But even Klan members got more sense. They still pay the taxes on their rundown buildings and stuff. Goodness. I mean, good grief. Oh, my God. This guy's a piece of work.
I really think that's all we can pretty much say about this dude. We can't say nothing more about him. Yeah, he's a waste. He's a waste of time.
Yes. Yeah, I hope you just got. I hope you listen. If you listen all the way through, I hope you got a good laugh out of it at least. That's all we got to say on them. We out.
Bye.
I ain't drinking, but scope this. I was just thinking, you plus me, what a ride.